Camilla, I believe that you have a few words for us before we take a bit of a break.
Thank you very much, James, and thank you again for inviting me this evening. It's fantastic to be here. I'm part of all this kind of fun and joy, but also the kind of some of the more sort of serious moments about really applauding friends and colleagues for their work. And I just wanted to say a few words, and I've picked a few slides so that you didn't have to just kind of stare at my face. So please sit back with your drinks, or if you're at work, maybe you'll enjoy some of these slides. I think Charlie Mackesy is just phenomenal. So I've picked a few of his slides and a couple of other things. But we're here tonight to celebrate success and to recognise those that epitomise excellence in healthcare, in medical education, and in healthcare education more widely. And events like these are moments to stop and appreciate those that have gone the extra mile, and to applaud them and to thank them. And in amongst the specific nominees and winners, I just want to spend a few moments thinking with you about why we're doing this evening. Why does this matter? Why is it important to celebrate success? Why is it crucial that we find the time to stop and say thank you? Why do this at all? Next slide. This last year has brought into focus, as never before, the importance of human connection and also the fragility of life. No person on the planet has been left untouched by this pandemic, and all of us have been affected by it. Next slide. We've all shed tears of fear and sadness. We've all felt anxious about our own health and also the health and safety of our loved ones. Many of us have lost treasured family members and even colleagues. Our pediatric community was rocked very early on in the pandemic by the tragic passing of Dr. Vish Rasaya. Next slide. Vish was a very much loved and highly respected neonatologist at Birmingham Women's Hospital. So how can we make sense of all of this sadness? How can we see the opportunities that arise from this pandemic? Next slide. So my personal learning is an affirmation of the importance of Ubuntu. Now, Ubuntu is a concept that I learned in great abundance when I was growing up and when I was a junior doctor in South Africa. Ubuntu is a Southern African concept, and it's best defined by the translation, which is, I am because we are. In other words, I exist in the world, not as a solitary being, but as somebody connected with those around me, and that the essential human virtues of humanity and compassion link us. Next slide. Now, Ubuntu is not a strange African idea. There's an Anglo-Saxon version of Ubuntu, and this is the concept of kindness. Kind comes from an old English word, kind, which meant or means lineage or family. It's where we get the English word kin from. So kindness is not some sentimental notion. It's the very basis of human relationships. And it describes how people are motivated essentially to treat others as members of their family, to be generous and to be thoughtful. Next slide. The foundation of the NHS in 1948 is probably one of the best examples of this. The NHS Constitution spells it out. It says that the NHS belongs to the people. It's there to improve our health and well-being. It's founded on a common set of principles and values that bind together the community and the people it serves and the staff who work in it. Next slide. Now, I'm raising this subject with you this evening because we all know that being kind and sustaining a sense of kinship or Ubuntu in the context of the modern NHS is often really difficult. Our worlds of work are obsessed with procedures, targets, technical expertise, cost-saving efficiencies. And so it's very, very easy to be so rushed, so short-staffed, so stressed that we forget about the importance of relationships and the value of human connections and relationships. And that's not just between staff members. It's also about our relationships with our patients and their parents. Next slide. If you think about it, healthcare is about relationships. It's relationships between staff, it's between different professionals, and it's between us and our patients and their parents. And when we treat each other as fellow human beings with a sense of kinship, then we can work together towards an excellent result. Then we can combine technical expertise and efficiency, financial prudence, with human kindness, attentiveness, support. And the result becomes something quite different and altogether more virtuous and positive. But these things don't just happen. We have to start by acknowledging the importance of what we now know from the literature and some psychological theories is the theory of intelligent kindness. And we need to take time to cultivate and invest in it. It means taking time to facilitate team development, acknowledging success in a personal way, thinking carefully about how each member of staff is being developed, and ensuring that they are clear about how much they're valued, and so on. Next slide. And this is where the PAFTAs come in. These are not touchy-feely occasions that are perhaps just an excuse for a drink, although that's always a good thing. Taking time out to celebrate success and to thank colleagues who've been brilliant or who've put themselves out or who've invested in team morale is fundamental to how we work in modern healthcare. It's fundamental to how successful teams work, and it's fundamental to how we deliver outstanding care for our patients and their families. Next slide. Before I finish, I want to share something that I've learned from the great Maya Angelou. Now, Maya Angelou, you will probably know, was an American poet and a civil rights activist. And she famously talked about her life as having had many dark clouds. And she did have some extremely difficult times in her life. But she then went on to say she had many rainbows too. And she described how when she was facing very challenging or frightening times in her life, she would stop and she would remember everyone who'd been kind to her, and she would draw courage from these memories. And she called these people the rainbows in her clouds. And then she went on to issue a challenge to all of us to be a rainbow in someone else's cloud. Even if that other person doesn't speak your language, doesn't worship your God, or as she put it, dance your dance. She said, take time out to be a rainbow in someone else's cloud. Be a blessing to someone by showing them kindness. Last slide. So I raise my glass to all of you. And in the spirit of Ubuntu, I want to acknowledge your kindness and your humanity, and to thank you all for the incredible people you are. Well done.
Thank you so much, Camilla. I think that rings true with everybody who's signed in here today, and is fantastically meaningful. So thank you very, very much. We are going to have a break now until 9:35, at which point we'll come back in for the most hotly contested and exciting awards of the evening, the Nursing Awards. I did just want to say that all of our prize winners, and you didn't know this, Camilla, did you? That all of our prize winners are getting this book as part of their award, which is all of the pictures that you just saw up there by Charlie Mackesy, who has been a bit of a totem for the NHS over the last few months. And really rings true with everything that we hold dear as the PAFTAs. So we've opened up the breakout rooms. I believe that you should be able to pick your own breakout room to go into. If you go down into the little 4 boxes at the bottom,